Greetings everyone, I am Ken McAuliffe, the Jazz Vinyl Audiophile, and today I thought I'd do an interesting, I actually stole it from another guy on YouTube, Norman Masloff, did a video on his favorite Miles Davis records, his top 20. So I thought it'd be a cool thing to do. I'll do my top 20 Miles Davis records, with a few jokers thrown in there, and no Kind of Blue. Kind of Blue is a beautiful record. To me it's sort of a one-off in Miles' oeuvre. It's I understand why people like it. It's a beautiful record. It's a beautifully recorded record. It's very relaxed. It's very languorous. There are no crazy fast tempos. It's just like a very sort of Sunday morning record if you really haven't woken up yet, as far as I'm concerned. There are beautiful songs on there, classics. It has Blue and Green, which is what I think, to me, one of the greatest jazz compositions of all time by Bill Evans. It's just an astounding ballad. There are some amazing solos on there, but for me it's just not something I listen to a lot. Four and More, I believe this is 63, with Herbie and George Coleman and Ron Carter and Tony Williams, and at Carnegie Hall, and it's just, everything is really fast. It's like Miles said, you know, we're going to kick out the jams, we're going to kick out all those old tunes I did with Coltrane, and we're going to kick this into the next gear, and they did, because it is just, it's not a beautiful recording, but man, the whole thing is on fire. Nothing but fast tunes. It is just blazing. And then this is the vinyl of the Lost Band, the Lost Quintet. Wayne Shorter, Chick Corea, Dave Holland, Jack DeJohnette, never recorded in the studio, but this is the vinyl. I don't think the vinyl is very good as music on vinyl, but I don't think this came out domestically. The box set of the Lost Quintet on CD is essential, absolutely essential. I mean, it's just what DeJohnette brought was funk. Guys were freaking funky, you know, and you hear that along with the other state-of-the-art players at the time. And then the second great quintet, Plug Nickel Sessions, a great way to hear this small group in a small room. Finally, in a silent way, the precursor to Bitches Brew, which is nothing like Bitches Brew, and I don't know it as well, but to me it's more ethereal. You know, it's sort of like the soundtrack to 2001. There's just something abstract and ethereal and very sleek about it in a silent way. Some of the same players as on a Bitches Brew, and probably similar directions, but the fact that those two records, recorded one after the other, are so totally dissimilar and have nothing to do with each other, and once again are these one-offs before he went to do something else, is just remarkable. These records have such a personality. And then, you know, after these records, you know, he did Live Evil and Agartha and Pangea, you know, these incredible, insane live records that I think were ahead of their time. I don't know how you got anybody into the clubs into the halls to hear that then, because it's just full-on blistering, you know, shredding basically, with Reggie Lucas on guitar, I forget. But those, I love those records, but those are some hardcore, you know, those are true riots in sound. They're so aggressive, and Al Foster just bashing 2 and 4. Those are weird records. That's an experiment that doesn't always work. This is 1955, the new Miles Davis Quintet, and this is the first recording about what became the first great quintet, with Miles, John Coltrane, Red Garland, Paul Chambers, Philly Joe Jones, without Cannonball Adderley. Because you can hear the group kind of going through its growing pains, and it's also funny because we have Miles is obviously the star, and Philly Joe Jones is kind of playing very laid back, sort of small in stature, which if you know Philly Joe Jones, his drumming is large in stature, and he's recorded very lightly. Train, you know, doesn't have his act together yet, and he kind of wanders around, you know, trying to really nail it, but he doesn't quite. Red Garland is appropriate, but not his full-blooded self either. Who's really storming and well recorded is Paul Chambers throughout this record. If anything, Chambers kind of controls this session. because, you know, he was a brilliant reader and just such an outstanding bassist. He's in form from, you know, note one. But this is a great record. This really strange cover. I think it also comes in blue. I paid $125 for this at the Jazz Record Center. It's a first pressing. But to me, a great way to start, because I love both the first great quintet and the second great quintet. And this is when Miles, to my way of thinking, really becomes Miles. The Miles Davis that we know, that we think of, I think really began with this record. It's after Birth of the Cool, but this is his own thing. And you know, not shortly after this record, well, I'm not really sure. I think he was doing these records up through 58. Columbia bought up the contract. But this is a great place to start. The new Miles Davis Quintet, 1956. Someday My Prince Will Come, 1961. This is a transitional record after Coltrane and Cannonball Adderley had left the group. Also, Wynton Kelly is brought in, and Hank Mobley. And what's weird, I didn't realize till I read up on this record, this group was actually together for 2 years. Coltrane, well, not Coltrane, but Mobley, Wynton Kelly, Paul Chambers, and Jimmy Cobb. And this is a transitional record. Coltrane is on 2 tracks, and he's blistering. I mean, as contrasted with the new Miles Davis Quintet. He's fully assured. I mean, it's 1961. I think Giant Steps came out in 59 or 60. And he is just on his game and blowing like crazy. And to me, it's a subtle, kind of a bluesy recording. It's before he found, you know, the new quintet, or the next quintet with Herbie and Wayne and Tony and Ron Carter. And it has an unusual assortment of tunes. Someday My Prince Will Come was from a Broadway tune. Drad Dog was a tribute to the owner of CBS Records at the time. It's a Tio Macero record, and it really kind of stands out because you can hear Miles sort of searching for what he's going to do next. It also sounds different. Maybe it's recorded in a different studio, but it's a bluesy record. It's a very swinging record. It's a very subtle record, and even with all those sort of low-key caveats, I think it's an essential Miles record. You know, you can hear him drop it. It's weird, even though it's it's post the first great quintet. In a way, it almost sounds like something before it. It's kind of hard to put into words. Just the tunes. I Thought About You, T.O., Old Folk, Someday My Prince Will Come, more standards, I guess. It has kind of an older sound. It's not as full-blooded and supercharged as we think of Relaxing, Cooking, Working, Steaming. It's sort of a step back in its overall scope. Maybe because Miles is just unsure of what's going to happen next. It certainly doesn't sound like it does. It gives you no clue as to what's coming. You know, when he finds Tony and they cut 4 and more, and it's just that second quintet is just still one of the most amazing groups in jazz. But nonetheless, and it has a beautiful cover. Miles Davis Sextet, Someday My Prince Will Come, 1961. 1957, Cooking with the Miles Davis Quintet. A beautiful cover by Reed Miles. Absolutely beautiful. So this is the official first record by the second great quintet after the new Miles Davis Quintet. Classic lineup: Miles, Train, Red Garland, Paul Chambers, Philly Joe. Doing, you know, Sonny Rollins' Airgen, Miles Blues by 5, Tune Up, which is once again doing the classic American songbook and just wailing on it. The group is so confident. Everything is locked in. Just Squeeze Me, My Funny Valentine. I mean, it's been said a million times, but it's absolutely true. Any version of this, I don't care if you get the EU CD cut version, these are masterpieces. Cooking, Working, Steaming. They're just, it's just the epitome of the way, both the roots of jazz from that period and the mastery of hard bop, but it's beyond that because these guys are such geniuses. There's so much beauty and exhilaration. It's so life-affirming, and they're also confident. From Paul Chambers to Philly Joe Jones, 2 of the most swingingest, confident musicians in jazz of all time. I mean, Philly Joe, I do Porgy and Bess is up in a second. you know, and I won't get to that, but, you know, Philly just, man, just, you know, just like a Cadillac rolling down Broadway, you know, in the summer, and the top's out, and he's so confident. It's funny, because if you get into race and all that, to me, nothing exemplifies America in the late 1950s than really the drumming of Philly Joe Jones. It's in the pocket, it's grooving, it's sunny, it's bright, it's positive, and that's why Miles hired him, I guess, besides, you know, the drug connection, because he just brings such class and vibrancy to everything he played. But this is a classic, really classic group. I just noticed this, cooking with the Miles Davis Quintet. The "the" is bold. Isn't that strange? And on the cover, the "the" is up. Who knows? But a beautiful laminated cover. I paid $75 for this original present. Cooking with the Miles Davis Quintet, 1957. Miles in the Sky, 1968, and I just realized I'm ordering these in the position that I like them, which is hard to do, but I just realized this is also a transitional record. This is the last record before his electric period, before In a Silent Way, and Live Evil, and Bitches Brew. And it's only 4 tunes, which is kind of weird. Stuff, Paraphernalia, Black Comedy, Country Sun. It also includes Herbie Hancock playing both electric piano, and George Benson on guitar on one track. And the star of this record, as really with many of these records, is Tony Williams. He's just, to this day, he's just so on fire and incendiary and assaultive and cutting and exploding and prodding everyone so hard. And this record is a little bit looser than the previous records with the Quintet. Even though every record has signature songs from the second great Quintet, some records a little more groove oriented than others, and this one is kind of graceful, and it really floats. And I don't think it quite has the tunes of Nefertiti or Kilimanjaro or even ESP. It's more of a jam record, you know, which is apropos because it's at the second Quintet at the end of their lifespan. But still an amazing record. All the second Quintet records and the first Quintet records are essential recordings. They're just, you know, that's the Bible to me. And they're still so open and on fire and swinging in their own way. But this is an elemental record, an essential recording. There's Miles on the back with his pooch. Miles in the Sky, 1968, stereo, CS 9628. (1965) Miles Davis ESP. You know, that's the whole period of people read about that stuff. My mother used to read about ESP and Edgar Casey and you know, all these sort of, which sort of went along with the whole idea of the 60s and expanding your mind and Alan Watts and all this kind of stuff. But another brilliant record, and I'm going to refer to my notes for this one. And this also has tunes that became standards in a way. 81, Little One, Iris, Agitation, but really 81 and Little One almost became standards. 81 by Ron Carter. And this one, it was recorded in Hollywood, and so it sounds, to my ears, more intimate than the ones recorded at 30th Street. But it's just, you know, a ravishing, beautiful record. It's funny, on Wikipedia, which I did read the Wikipedia, said Kenny Dorham thought the record lacked emotion. I mean, it's nothing but emotion. All these Quintet records, you know, they're like extravagant emotion. They're like, you know, emotion on drugs. It's, you know, it's so saturated emotionally and tonally, and it's so wide open, and explores so deep. It's a real collision of melody, definitely of improvisation, and any possibility, because these guys are such masters. They're right on the edge, you know, feeding each other, pushing each other. I think it's amazing they could contain that in the scope of, on this album, like 7 tracks. I mean, it's remarkable when you think about it. The amount of information they jammed into each track is just incredible, how they were able to put so much into it, into what were really short solos. Incredible attention to detail, because the recording's a little better, really intimate, both a meditation and a rumination. Still not as good as my top 2 records by Miles, but the same group. And if you like my videos, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. I think it's down there. Just hit that sucker. Thanks so much. Have a great day.